the host of Undefeated, and happy Friday. I hope everyone has had a wonderful and productive week. You all probably saw that today's episode was initially going to be Money Belief Mindsets with our special guest, Dr. Pamela Jolly. Oh, there she goes.
Yeah, I was on the Zoom link.
Oh gosh. Okay. So yeah, we had okay, glad we were able to get you in the right place. Good morning.
Good morning. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm doing well. I literally just kicked off, so you're here right in time.
Wonderful.
Um, Excited to share with you all Dr. Jolly, who I crossed paths with in Chicago actually about 2 months ago now at the Conference for African American Finance. So we are so delighted to have you with us. Really quickly, I want to give you, of course, the white glove treatment as we do with all of our guests. I'm going to share your bio with everyone really fast. Dr. Pamela Jolly has enjoyed a career in the finance services industry in banking, strategic consulting, private equity, venture capital analytics. She is the CEO of Torch Enterprises Inc., a strategic investment company that she's run for the past 20 years. She's the author of 5 books on her dissertation, Legacy Wealth, and often serves as subject matter expert on Black wealth for cities and large philanthropic organizations. She recently completed a national of Black women trust in the financial services industry and an econometric model designed to quantify the need for increased investment in Black-led social and economic change. She earned a BS from Hampton University, an MBA from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business, ultra prestigious for those unfamiliar, and is that a master's in theology from Boston University, as well as uh, an, how do I say this, education degree, EDD,
A doctorate in education.
doctor in education. See, I'm still learning things. The Graduate Theological Foundation, hold certifications in theology from Oxford, Christ Church, and conflict resolution from the Boston Theological Institute, and private equity and venture capital from the Pepperdine Graziadio School of Business and Management. She has served as the senior strategist for the American College of Financial Services Center for Economic Empowerment since 2020 and co-head of governance on the Good Work Network board in New Orleans, Louisiana, second vice president on the University of Pennsylvania Board of Alumni, co-chair of the Invest and Recruit Committee for the Financial Alliance for Racial Equity, and on the BME board for which she was a 29 Vanguard Fellow, or BME, sorry. In 2022, she joined the Bennett College Board of Trustees and Boston University School of Theology Dean's Advisory Board. So, an endless pedigree of credentials. It is my pleasure to welcome you, Dr. Pamela Jolly. Welcome to Undefeated.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So wonderful to be in conversation with you. So, as we talked about in coordinating this episode, today's theme is money, belief, mindsets. And so, just all things the psychology, more the softer criterion, if you will, behind money management. So, when we first got in touch, I was very, of course, wowed by your long list of credentials, right? And the degrees that you've earned. So, could you share with us a little bit about your journey and, of course, the debt journey that came along with that pursuit?
Yeah, so I guess when we think about my journey, post Hampton, went into banking and really was able to learn a lot from Hugh McCall, who was a fourth generation banker, uh, and really learned about really how you dominate markets and how to really build standards of excellence, if you will. Um, I often tell everyone post college, really start thinking about your skill building and your skill set because, what I learned in those 4 years as a banker, I carry throughout everything. I look at everything through the lens of business and really finance. I went on to the Wharton School, and prior to starting my own business, it was the hardest and best 2 years of my life. I love Wharton. I love AMBA, which is the African American MBA Association, and really consider them a part of my family. Went on to strategic consulting in business, finance, and architecture. And that was where I learned, how to disaggregate large institutions and really see that 80% of business is the same, 20% is different. That's the same for both individuals and institutions. That 20% is how you look at it. Culture really does matter.
Mhm.
From there, I went on to working from some of the larger firms to some of the smallest firms I've ever worked at. And that's really about business being a relationship. Can you see eye to eye? Can you work with people? Can you build relationships that can create tremendous value? Um, it wasn't until I started my own business that I really started to connect what I was doing and what I was capable of doing to my legacy.
Mm.
My grandfather, come from a fourth generation of entrepreneurs. And I honestly didn't know that until I launched my business. And so, starting to look at my history and my legacy, it was really a matter of time before I would unravel that within my history. So, starting my business was really interesting to see how much alike I was from my grandfather and my great grandfather, if you will. The
Ab-
company was hired by FEMA, and like literally being able to see communities as businesses as well. But I'll stop
mm.
there.
No, I appreciate that background. And I think it's really inspiring when you can lean on people, right, in your own family who you can look to as that example. And even though I'm the first entrepreneur in my family on both sides, I can see right of, like my granddad, he was an excellent writer and linguist. And so I get my very long-winded letter writing skills from him. Our mom also has it. So I think it's just really interesting how you touched on the familial inspiration piece. So more on to the financial side, though, of that journey as we our pre-conversation, these degrees did not come without heavy cost and investment, right, in your future. And so you've mentioned that you are completely debt free. Congratulations. Can you walk us through what that journey was like and just anything that may have been unexpected or roadblock, or if you had maybe ambivalent at certain points about pursuing your education at such a tremendous expense?
Yeah, I was grateful. I think, when we think about education and we think about the cost of education, it's really important to know why you're getting the degrees you're getting. I was raised by a father and a mother who constantly challenged me, but my dad would say the longer I was in school, the dumber I got.
Interesting.
And really, what he meant was this challenge of, what are you going to do with all of that education? And so my father constantly challenged me to really think about what I was doing when I was doing it. And so if you just consume education, which means, you can say you have a degree, I don't believe that knowledge leads to power. I believe that an applied knowledge leads to power. So
Mm,
you can't just learn it, you have to apply it. And if you do believe, as I believe, that applied knowledge leads to power, essentially, it means that your education isn't a cost. It isn't an expense. It's actually an investment you are making. And then it's your job to get the return on that investment. So for every dollar I put in my head, I expect that to generate a return through my lifetime. And so, in looking at it that way, it influenced everything from how I negotiated salaries to how I priced my product to how I priced when I speak at my speaking engagements, because I recognize the value that I invested in myself that then actually impacts others. And so, as a result, I was blessed. I did have some scholarships. I also had a grandmother who believed that I was going to advance my education, and my grandfather, and they supported my education as well. But I was looking forward to paying off my education by the return on investment I got from it. And so that's really, really critical. So for each degree, I anticipated what that was going to do for me as a wealth builder, furthering my road further down the road to wealth my way.
every word you said, I just am humming like, amen. Yes. So on point because you hit us like just a trifecta of key points. So it has to be an investment. And I would really caution any students or anyone who's close to students, rising college students, perhaps listening to this, even if not live, maybe if you watch the replay, it has to be an investment if it's going to be a course of action. And by definition, investments are money that you put in and you get it back 10, right? It's not a gamble. So intentionality, I think, is so important. But then also, knowing that you had like a vision and a plan and you weren't just going through the motions, I feel like it's become so standard that a lot of people just check out and they just are almost zombie like to colleges, even applying to scholarships. It's just this is what I was told, this is what I will do. Like there is no passion and connecting dots to how is this going to set me up for success? How is this going to advance my education and that applied knowledge that I can put into action that I will do with that credential. And then the third piece too is never stop learning. And the fact that your dad said it to you in that way, I think is so interesting and clever because by contrast, I've only ever heard it reinforced through family, both parents and all through the generations. Um, colleges, degrees, degrees, degrees. And I get the spirit of it, but it almost makes me think of, I don't know if you remember Kanye's OG days. We're not going to talk about today, but when he first got started, the college dropout, and how he would intersperse the track list with skits. And one of them was speaking on this very concept of just the notion of pursuing degrees just because, and not really understanding that it is supposed to propel you forward and lead to a lucrative and stable career. It's not just collecting them just to have in these shiny frames on the walls, or even worse, used to keep you warm if you're homeless on the streets because you're so bankrupt from. And so I remember just really finding that a creative way to reframe the conversation and get people thinking about it in new terms. So I appreciate sharing that.
So a couple of things I want to add to what you're saying, because we're right, we're of the same tribe, and I remember your parents went to Hampton, right? So
They did,
so definitely we're of the same tribe. I think here's the thing: income is correlated to education right now. Okay, and so there is a connection point with that. However, if you go blindly in, there's so much to learn that you're not quite clear exactly what to do and why to do it. And there's different types of education. My grandmother would always say that Jesus didn't even have a GED, but we're still talking about him, right?
Amazing.
Some people learn in a classroom, some people learn in a community, but it's important to package up that knowledge and move forward. That's what's so important. And I think that when you think about understanding what is actually it's costing you to not go to class or to go to class, to ace that exam or not ace that exam, like what it's actually costing you further down the road, it really makes you become very, very serious about what you're doing and why you're doing it. Your generation is different than my generation. There was an expectation of my generation to go to college. I mean, that was the expectation. Your generation is looking for different ways. And I get the college dropout perspective, but here's what I need you to look a little deeper. For those who dropped out of college and are extremely successful, take a look at their generational relationship with wealth.
Correct.
Okay, that's important for you to look at, because at the baseline, somebody got a degree that created an opportunity for that person to live a certain standard of life. So when you think about degrees, I want you to think about degrees of freedom. And there's three types of degrees of freedom in America: lower middle class, and upper middle class. Think about what the pedagogy, which is what you're learning, is actually going to let you aspire to, and what the alumni base looks like. The last thing I'll say is I'm blessed to be on the board of most of the universities that I've gone to. So I need you to look just beyond being in the classroom to graduating, to doing well, to giving back to the school, to sitting on the board and being a part of the leadership. Education is lifelong. Not just you learn, but you also are able to lead. I'm so happy to influence the future of curriculum in my seminary, to influence the first historically Black college of Black women, Bennett. I'm their chair elect. I'm going to be their chair, to be able to raise capital for that school. So that's the benefit of being educated. You become a part of a tribe of people who share the same pedagogy, the way of learning, and you're able to move forward and do some things that other people can't do.
That is beautiful, beautifully put. And I think that is a central point that my pastor also fixates on. He says all the time, your quality of life never expand beyond your level of education. And that's just a fact. And I think you also tracing it back to those origins, right? Like the Bill Gates, the Mark Zuckerbergs, like they, even though they were in a position to where college no longer served them because they literally were just so far ahead of the game where they were, start with someone back in the day, a parent, grandparents, and laying that foundation. And I really just commend the full circle journey piece because, transparently, when I came out of Dartmouth, like I had such a faulty experience in so many ways. And I remember I was like, I'm never coming back. never, I don't with this school. This was just, so unfortunate that I spent the last 4 years holed up in this place in the middle of the woods. But obviously, maturity and time has helped me come to a place where it's come full circle for me too in a similar way. So I haven't quite graduated to the board level and servicing to that extent. I've engaged so much with the college and come back with open arms, right? Like not begrudgingly, not with a secret agenda, like, guess what? Get out, right? It's like, no, I learned some things and I do want to help others avoid repeating my mistakes in terms of not knowing how to read loan paperwork or not being sensitive to the fact that private loans can be a lot more punitive than federal, those sorts of things. But I'm like, by all means, right? You don't get this time again, and you should give it your all. You are here, you were selected and brought here for a reason, and that's for any college student, right? Um, see it through. If down to where it just truly, truly doesn't make sense or might even hold you back, use discernment. I'm certainly not God, like, follow your journey. But for those where that does make sense, don't give up on that and don't be of a mindset if you did go through negative experiences that it can't be salvaged, right? Eventually. So I did at least absorb that part as time has gone on.
I'm glad you did too, Bree. And one of the things I want you to remember is you come from a long legacy in your family as well as in any school that you attend. And you being a Dartmouth grad, there is a powerful Black woman by the name of Pamela Baylor who sits on the board of Dartmouth. If you don't know her, I need you to look her up because I'm sure she would love to mentor you. She's absolutely amazing. She's a beast in what she does. And you are a part of that family because you did go to Dartmouth. So I encourage you to look her up.
Oh, I will definitely be adding her to my outreach list. What's the last name? Baylor?
Baylor, Pamela Baylor.
Baylor.
Amazing, amazing.
Okay, less. Anyone who knows me knows that I am relentless when it comes to finding leads and following up. So thank you for that, Jim. Um, I wanted also, I know we're down to like our last 10 minutes. This went by so fast. Um, is there anything, I guess, as you look back on your journey, and since I just mentioned a number of things that I wish I had known or wish that I had done differently or went about in perhaps just an adjusted fashion, what would those be for you? If you could just talk to 20-year-old Pamela all over again, right before she became Dr. Jolly, what would that?
Well, seeing is believing, right? So if you are uncertain about your road ahead, start seeking out people who you feel you connected to. Look for models because there's nothing new under the sun. And literally, you are that next generation of whatever you admire and aspire to be. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is that when you think about wealth, the earlier you start, the more guaranteed it is. And so small little increments at 20 could make, by the time you're my age, wealth is a done deal. So now you can afford to do whatever the Sam Hill you want to do. And so that's what I want you to do. And so while it may seem like a big piece of your budget right now, you will be so happy when you're my age. And I'm jolly even, and I want you to be jolly. So like literally, please talk to a financial advisor as soon as humanly possible. Chart a path. Look further down the road than most of your peers. Look further down the road than even your parents. Look further down the road. Now include your parents. I would encourage you if you're 20, like have those intimate conversations with your parents about their financial health and their financial reality because wealth is a group process. I'm so grateful I have my mama. I lost my daddy 10 years ago, but my father and I had so many different conversations that impact who I am today as a wealth builder, who I am today as a professional. But it's my mama who's been there every step of the way. And she's with me. And what she did was she saw me and did things differently for her financial health. So she's able to do things with me and afford to be able to do things with me that if we hadn't had those conversations early, it might not have happened. And so the more each generation is weaker and wiser. So you know what you don't want to do, but you actually don't know how to get to where you want to go. So each generation is necessary. So have the hard conversations because the only hardness about them is the fact that you're afraid to have them. Remember that fear. And really, really in faith, connect across generations and put some money away as early as possible. Because when you get my age, I want wealth to just be permanent for you and for generations behind you.
Now that is a heck of a word. I think the potency of that and, just tying into this theme of today's episode, the mindset piece, it's so clear that in, your eyes see it as seeding, right, and reaping that harvest eventually at the proper time. I mean, I've been just soaking up scripture that talks about the importance of reaping and sowing, and you can't control the growth of the seed, but just know you have to trust in that and nurture it as you do plant it. And I totally echo. Unfortunately, my initial exposure to money was through a very staunch global name. I'm sure y'all can guess who I'm getting at. But just this person's philosophy, it was just so much like all or nothing. And especially if you had debt, the number one tool really is like save $1,000 and then pay off all your debt. And his advice, by and large, was don't even bother investing if you have debt. And so when I was taking that in at 2021, I was like, well, I know I'm going to walk out of here with quite a bit of debt. So I guess I just should put off investing until once I've cleared it. And I don't even want to think that I've cost myself that I could be enjoying and using to forge other ventures and all sorts of things. So I started very, very late, as in within the last year, seriously, investing. My dad had set up a brokerage account for me, but that was like at the onset COVID, and nope, I need liquidation. I need to be able to put this into my debt. So unfortunately, I'm so behind the eight ball. So I just really want to corroborate what you said. For anyone who's watching this and they're feeling iffy, or they feel like, you know what, money's just, if you can't enjoy money, then what's the point? I hear you, but you want to give yourself your future to enjoy. So it's about stewardship and also the mindset of abundance, like you just touched on, having wealth just shower down and it not be just a fleeting thing, something that you've really cultivated and can be sustained and even scaled with time. And
So I love
the right money so
I
far.
don't want you to think you're behind the eight ball because what is for you will not go by you. And
Mm,
you have a 4-year window of creating wealth. You have 40 years of increasing levels of income to finance 30 plus years of living beyond retirement. So, time value of money says that a dollar is worth more today than it will ever be tomorrow. So, you're never behind the eight ball as long as you start today. And I want you to understand that you've got far more time than you think to build wealth your way. But until you know what wealth your way is, you may think that you're behind the eight ball. But I know for a fact you're not behind the eight ball. But what you just said is that you listened to someone who had a different worldview than you have, which is the work that I do. It's so important that your pathway towards wealth is culturally relevant to you. That means starting with your legacy and moving on through business, finance, and strategy, from my perspective. And so don't opt out. Don't think that you missed out. Just know that the impetus, and you are more aware than ever that now is the time for you to seize to build wealth as a legacy.
mm. So y'all, this was supposed to be like a two-way thing where we're helping you all collectively, but y'all just witnessed me getting healed right quick. Y'all just witnessed some financial trauma healing in real time. And I really mean that. And that's a helpful reminder because it is so easy to, at least speaking from experience, I'm my own worst critic times 1,000. I'm so punitive. I always have been. And especially when you think about money, which is, such a major fixture of life, it's really hard not to have a scarcity mindset. But I love that you just checked that immediately and you were like, no, it's not too late.
And I
Now
know
is
you
your time
inherited.
ever.
No, that's not going to happen. Your generation inherited such a tremendous opportunity. So no more defeat. No, none at all.
Mhm.
My father raised me to be a winner, not a fighter. You got to
Mm.
win. You inherited a win. So all you got to do is find it. And once you find it, pursue it. And once you pursue it, you're not alone. Because I invest in people your generation all the time. Because I want you to win further than I've won. And I've been blessed with a big win. And I want everybody to have one too, because I know they've inherited one.
No, I think that's so powerful. That oh, it gives me chills because I just want people to absorb this and to just break themselves out of just the ceilings that can just feel like they are lowering by the day. I think there's a lot happening world events, inflation, all the
Mhm.
things you read about that just make you feel so helpless in a moment. So I just am really grateful for you infusing a sense of no, we can and we will do this. And that's the exact spirit, right? That Undefeated is all about is the obstacles of today are the stepping stone for the opportunities of tomorrow. That's today's Breeism. I was just on the spot. I didn't prepare that one in advance, but I think you just make such great points, and it just is so clear to me too why you were chosen to keynote us at CAAFP back in August. I mean, just the way you broke down the topics you spoke to then about the what was it, the Great Migration, and just things about Black culture and how we got to be where we are dispersed now that I'd never realized. Um, and so, yes, I just am so thankful for you sharing this knowledge and paying it so aggressively forward. And I think that's this generational cycle that we want to start seeing more of.
Well, definitely. And I'm grateful to have met you. I'm so glad you were there. I do believe that the way forward is back through. I mean, our history is the blueprint for wealth. And so, if we truly understand our history, we know what we've inherited and we know what lies ahead. So, I'm so grateful to have met you there. And I love what you're doing because what you're doing is so important for your generation, my generation, our community, because we do need to have these conversations. We do need to explore the roadblocks, but also what happens after you overcome the roadblocks.
Mm.
So, what you're doing is a tremendous need, filling a void in our community, as I would say.
That's what we aim to do, and we can only do it together, as they say, to go fast, go alone, to go far, go together. So thank you for being part of this tribe, right, in this village that we're trying to cultivate and keep growing. It's just such an honor to be in company and conversation with you, and I know this is just conversation too. Many more that we'll hopefully have as our work continues to evolve. But just thank you so much again for gracing us with your presence this Friday. Technical difficulties, be danged. We did it. We managed to have a great conversation, and this was just such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to what the future brings for us both.
Likewise, I'll see you soon again, and thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you next Friday.
All right, take care.